Beautiful Boy, which is... did you talk to Steve Carell about this when he came in? Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. So
we mentioned it en passant.
So that's where that's fine. That's where it came in. Sorry, I beg your
That's where
pardon.
it came up. Which, as you know,
and was hilarious.
Porn is on this road.
Yeah,
and if
you
you
then
move that way, you can actually take the piece.
Yeah, and listeners,
even though you haven't actually moved
not
it
only
from
did
one
that
side.
email that Simon got explaining that seem to do nothing but muddy the waters, but in the ensuing trail, Simon came round to where I'm sitting with a piece of paper and a pen and attempted to draw it for me, and it's even more complicated than the offside rule, so I don't understand.
Double pawn can be immediately captured by an opponent's pawn if that pawn is adjacent to a double pawn move after the move on its fifth rank.
Anyone? No. Beautiful Boy, which is this drama directed by Philip van Groningen, based on two memoirs, Beautiful Boy, A Father's Journey Through His Son's Addiction by David Sheff, and Tweet, Growing Up on Methamphetamines by Nic Sheff. So, Steve Carell is David Sheff. He's a journalist, New York. He writes for magazines like Rolling Stone and others. And we first see him approaching an unseen professional, so it's from the point of view of the professional, asking for advice on drugs. He says, I'm here on a personal matter. I need to know about drugs. He says his son has gone off the rails. He has done every drug known to man, and apparently he is addicted to crystal meth, which the character says, as far as I understand, that's the worst one. Timothy Chalamet, best known for Call Me By Your Name, is Nick, the son. In flashback, we see him at school with a bright future. He has a good relationship with his dad. He's on course for college. He smokes a little dope. And after he gets a college offer, he and his father even end up smoking a joint together and, you know, commenting on what a great relationship they have. The father is divorced from his wife, who now lives in LA. Father lives with a woman who paints trees in this sort of very hippie, leafy environment. And the story's kind of pinball back and forth. And over the course of it, we see Nick's gradual slide into addiction. His early days, his attempts to do rehab, later his relapses, his recoveries, his relapses, and his recoveries.
How's Karen and the kids?
Okay. They ask about you. It's their step up next week, and I know they'd love you.
Dad, you're guilt tripping me, all right?
No, I'm just saying.
I feel horrible about myself.
I know they wanted you to be there, that's all.
I'm sorry, Dad. I just need some money, all right? So please just give me some money.
Where does this end?
I gotta see this one through. This is kind of working out for me right now. I got 5 days sober.
It doesn't look like it's working out, Nick.
Oh, it doesn't look like it's working out? So what, then therapy, huh?
You can come home.
No, that
we'll
wouldn't...
make it work, please, Nick. Please. I've been doing some research.
Been doing fucking research? You gotta be kidding me, Dad.
You think that you have this under control. Mm-hmm. And I understand how scared you are.
I understand why I do things. It doesn't make me any different, all right? I'm attracted to craziness, and you're just embarrassed because I was like, you know, I was like this amazing thing, like your special creation or something, and you don't like who I am now.
Yeah? Who are you, Nick?
This is me, Dad. Here, this is who I am.
So, it's basically a drama in which you have the central character, you have the San Francisco, you have the Los Angeles, you have writing from the New York Times, you have all that stuff going on, and at the centre of it is this character played by Timothy Chalamet, who is descending ever further into addiction. Now, when I was a kid, which was a very long time ago, there were two main texts about drugs for teenagers. One of them was a book called Go Ask Alice, written by Anonymous, which was presented as a diary of somebody in, I think in California or San Francisco, I can't remember, descending into drug addiction. And it was a sort of cautionary tale book, and it was in the school library. The other one was Christiana F., which is a film which is based on, again, a true life account of somebody in Germany, Berlin, who becomes a heroin addict. And that was a film that had David Bowie in it, because David Bowie is a character in the back of that scene. And those were two sort of very, very striking texts. And as a teenager, they had a very profound cautionary effect, which was, this is where drugs will lead. And watching Beautiful Boy, I found the stuff about the father wrestling with, with the loss of his son to, some kind of addiction that he understands, his attempts to understand what's happened to his son, his attempts to save him, the realization that he can't save him. I found all that stuff affectingly done and heartbreaking. Afterwards, I had a conversation with somebody who is a colleague who is half my age, and they really didn't like the film at all. And I've spoken to some other people who share those reservations, and they thought that basically it was a film about somebody from a position of privilege, that it was a film which had a kind of a very distant tone. The storytelling is very, very unsubtle. There is a use of music in the storytelling which is absolutely on the nose, the use of Neil Young, Heart of Gold, songs that are telling you exactly what's happening in the story. Particularly disliked the scene in which the father goes into his son's room and finds a notebook full of drawings and with doodles on it saying things like, I am descending into drugs, I think drugs, really kind of explaining the plot. And the thing is this, I understand all of those criticisms, and my conclusion is that Beautiful Boy, although it is based on the memoirs of both the father and the son, it is essentially seen from the point of view of the father. And the older and more fusty you are, of which I am both old and fusty, the more affecting it will be. And the younger and more sort of, streetwise you are, the more it will seem like something that's kind of preachy melodrama. I mean, I do understand that thing about the narrative that 1 minute is funny. He literally says, I can't believe it. One minute, and the next thing you're addicted to crystal meth and all this. And there is, it reminded me to some extent of, I remember there was a review of Larry Clark's film Kids, in which somebody in the Village Voice said it was a right-wing rabble-rousing tell-me-off-a-thon. It was one of those movies that said, you won't believe what your kids are getting up to. Well, here's what they're getting up to. Be shocked by it. The film also quotes Bukowski, and Nick loves Bukowski, and actually, weirdly, that reminded me tonally more of something like Into the Wild, okay? So, whilst I appreciate that there are things about the film that are very lots of things that I often don't like about filmmaking, I always say show, don't tell. Don't have scenes in which the plot is explained through somebody finding a notebook. Don't have scenes in which the plot is explained by a pop song telling you at this point that this is what's happening in this song. Don't have scenes in which and then incidentally in my plot synopsis, I'm mixing up all the geography of Los Angeles and California and New York. I know I am, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I found it moving, because for me it didn't end up being a film about drugs. For me, it ended up being a film about a father who is, and I think Steve Carell is a good actor, and I think so do you. And when he was acting somebody who is desperate to help in an area in which he does not understand anything, I thought he was quite affecting. I also think Timothée Chalamet, has a screen presence that makes the thing work. So for all the things that I understand that people don't like about it, I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me. But I also understand that, when I was young and going to the cinema and seeing Christiana F. and thinking, wow, because it was such a shocking and edgy film. That was a film that was aimed at a younger audience. This very much feels like a film from the point of view of the older outsider who actually does not know what's going on. And actually, I quite liked that Steve Carell's portrayal of a character who's just totally out of their depth.